Let's consider the troubleshooting of IP SLA. Service Level Agreement is what SLA stands for. And what we can do with IP SLA is generate traffic from one router in our network and send it to a far end router. That far end router, it could be configured with an SLA responder, and it can give us information about how the network treated that traffic. What was the drop percentage? What was the jitter? Things like that. We could do something as simple as just periodically sending a ping to see what the network response time is from point A to point B in the network. We could even use IP SLA to make routing decisions. We could combine it with policy-based routing, and we could say, based on network conditions, we might want to fail over from a primary route in the network to a backup route. However, what happens, or what should we look for if IP SLA is not behaving as expected? Well, in this topology, we're going to be in router R1, and let's imagine that we're trying to troubleshoot what we think should be a valid IP SLA configuration. One issue that we might have is simply that the IP SLA job is not scheduled, or it's not even created. Let's take a look. Let's do show IP SLA configuration. There is no IP SLA configuration, so we need to set that up. And this will be a great review of how we can configure IP SLA. I'm going to minimize our topology just a bit. And let's set up a basic IP SLA configuration. Let's go into global configuration mode, and I'm going to create IP SLA entry number 1. We can just use a locally significant entry number. I'll say number 1. And what do I want to do here in IP SLA configuration mode? We can do several things. I'm going to do just a basic ping operation to a far end router. I'm going to go over to the loopback interface on router R3. I'm just going to ping that periodically. I'll say ICMP echo, and I'll give the IP address of the loopback interface on router R3. It's 3.3.3.3. And I can say, where do I want to source these packets from? I could specify an interface on my router, an IP address. I'll say that I want to source it from an IP address of 1.1.1.1. That's my loopback interface on router R1. How often do I want to send these ping packets? We can set the frequency. I'm going to say that the frequency is going to be once a minute, every 60 seconds. Now, we've got our IP SLA job scheduled, or actually it's not scheduled, that's the issue. It's created, and we might be thinking, wow, I'm not able to get any data from this IP SLA job that I've set up. Why not? Well, maybe it's not scheduled. Here are a couple of verification commands we can use. We could do a show IP SLA configuration like we did before. Now we see that we have an operation configured. We see that every 60 seconds we're going to be carrying out this operation. However, it doesn't seem to be working. Look at this. It says that the status of this IP SLA entry is not in service. It's not scheduled right now. Something else that could let us know that it's not scheduled right now is we could do a show IP SLA statistics aggregated. And it says, yep, the operation has not started. Here's how we can schedule an IP SLA operation. Let's go into global configuration mode again, and let's set up a schedule. I'm going to say IP SLA schedule, and I'm going to specify the IP SLA entry number. We just used a number of 1, and I'll say that the start time, we could specify a specific time. We could say, let's wait a certain amount of time and then start it. I'm going to say start now. And how long is it going to run? What is the lifetime of this operation? I'm going to say forever. And now we've not only configured our IP SLA operation, we have scheduled our operation, and it should be running now. If we give our verification commands again, let's do a show IP SLA configuration. Earlier, we saw that this had not been started. This entry, but now it says it's active. That's good feedback. Let's see if we've collected any data, or let's see if we're actually sending any ping packets. Let's do a show IP SLA statistics aggregated command, and looks like we've sent 1. If we waited, that number would of course increment once per minute, but it says we're doing an ICMP echo message. We're sending that. and we've got a success. We've successfully reached the far end. That's a really basic example of how we can troubleshoot IP SLA. We showed you a couple of verification commands to determine whether or not we had even configured an IP SLA operation, and if we had it started? Was it scheduled or not?